carefully in respect to what the site looks like now, what's being proposed, and what it may evolve into in the future. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your well thought out.
Thank you.
Statement. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the application? Mr. Bojack.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you back. John Bogack and not you.
Thank you, Mr. Bojack.
I really truly wasn't going to say anything, but you know it always comes up that I have to say something.
Well, we wouldn't expect you now.
Could you speak up, please, sir?
Couldn't hear me? No. Microphone?
We look forward to your comments.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes? Sure. Can you hear me now?
I certainly can.
On the issue, you know, I've appeared here so many times about applications, and this gentleman raises an issue about enforcement, and everything he said about enforcement is true. After the meeting is over and an application is granted, people have to do their work to get things done. But I recently discovered something about the process inside the village, which I think is of interest to you board members as well as myself. I appeared here back in 2015 on the Voodoo Lounge. And this board granted me...
The Voodoo Lounge, that was the east,
that's
West
the
Main Street.
That's off of River Avenue. All right? I'm just using it as a practical example of an enforcement issue. Of an institutional type, which I had never discovered until a couple months ago, actually. I was here asking for relief on a sound issue. The board granted me a modicum of that. It instructed the owner to make some effort to reduce sounds at the Voodoo Lounge. I thought that that was an automatic process. You don't remember this?
Bremer's place.
Yeah, Mr. Bremer's place.
Voodoo Lounge.
The Voodoo Lounge of the Off-Key Tiki Bar.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying to give the guy a break, all right? So I called the Voodoo Lounge.
All right.
That's what it was, the Voodoo
All right,
Lounge
okay.
of the Off-Key Tiki Bar.
There we go.
So, you folks voted many different things, you gave me everything you wanted, and I got one little thing, which was he's supposed to reduce the sound for the Voodoo Lounge. I thought that process was automatic. Turns out, many months later, I discovered that your order never really got to code enforcement or to the building department. And that appears to be an institutional issue. That when you're making these orders and you're granting all these different things on behalf of residents, time the CO comes, no one actually has copies of your orders. No one's actually looking at what you are granting people when they come here asking for relief. Now, after I discovered that 5 or 6 or 7 months ago, I then spent a half a year getting that clause effective. By what? Going to code enforcement, showing up, going to meetings, borrowing Carol over there a million times until something got done. But that institutional issue came to light and I was shocked by it. But you're here, you're making these orders, you're offering all these contingencies, and somehow between here and there, they disappear. That can't be. This guy is right, you know. It might morph into something else. What's the barrier? What's the safeguard against that? Well, it's the good intentions of the owner. That's the first. That's the first safeguard, is the owner keeps his word. And the second is what you order. And then the third, of course, is really enforcement.
It's the enforcement aspect.
Right. But to have enforcement, code enforcement officers need to know when they're issuing the CO that there are actually provisions granted by the planning board or the zoning board that they have to pay attention to before they hand out the CO.
Well, those provisions are part of the grant.
Yeah, but you know,
And I understand you saying there's an institutional issue.
it's not migrating down to the code enforcement officers into the office for them to look at before they issue those COs.
We'll have to look at.
Yeah, I think it's something. I talked to 2 trustees about this. I haven't followed up on it because I resolved my issues with the Off-Key Tiki Bar for the moment. But I've been here for 5, 6, 7 years now, and I always thought it was some automatic process, and you guys would be ordering these wonderful things. We'll have the wonderful trees, but it's not dribbling down to the people who need to really see what you're ordering. That's my impression. I could be wrong, but I think you should look into it. That's my recommendation.
I think more often than not, you're right, and I've seen it too. So your point's really well taken. We do need to sort of figure out why it's being lost in translation and what to do about it.
Okay, well then, okay, so I'm not totally crazy all the time. Okay. And otherwise, on this proposal, you know, I'm corrupted. I mean, I've lived in circumstances that are so deleterious. When this guy comes and says, there's no smoke, there's going to be wonderful, no sound, all of those things, I'm saying this part of the village is blessed to have those things. If that's the case, it is. You know, and I hope he's right. I'm glad to hear the distillery doesn't have a smell, because the man is right. The wonderful brewery, the Blue Point Brewery, I'm glad to see it's going to a great location. And one of the reasons why is I don't have to smell wet socks when it starts to brew, because he's right, it stinks. So it's good, it's odorless. So on this application, yes, it's another alcohol-based industry, but it sounds like the man's trying to do right. So I hope that's the case. And with some provision for enforcement of what you actually decide in the end, then you got a good deal. That's
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Bojack. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the application? Madam Chairwoman, it's our intent here to essentially